You're listening to Positive Living, brought to you by Positive Living TV and PodAlmighty.com. Now, here's your host, powerful living coach, Aida Memaseve.
Hey, everyone. So happy to be in the studio again today. Today we have relationship coaches Owen Williams and Chris St. John. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello, good to be here.
You know what I love about the two of you is that you work with men, and I think that's amazing. You do a lot of relationship work with men. You have men's groups, right?
Yeah, we do.
And you teach men how to be more authentic in their life, powerful in their life,
How
right?
to show up.
How to show up, and how to be able to deal with women better too, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, I think that's important, gentlemen. I think it's important.
Well, also how to deal with themselves.
Yes, because that's the first step, isn't it, Owen?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, now why do you think they should not bring it to women? Because I'm just thinking, if I'm in a relationship with someone and if he's experiencing some fear, maybe a new challenge, you're suggesting that he really shouldn't share that with me.
Well, from the perspective of if men continually share how afraid they are with women about what they're really afraid of, it weakens them in women's eyes.
You know what? You're right about that, actually. That is a good point. If they continually, that was a key word. As soon as you said that, I'm like, ooh, yeah, I would not like that. Yeah. I wouldn't mind if on occasion my guy shared with me, because, a little bit of that. But you're right. I would not want to be hearing about how he's afraid all the time. You're right.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I wouldn't like that. That would seem
It wouldn't be sexy, would it?
No, it wouldn't be sexy, Chris. Not
No,
at all.
no.
Okay, so I see your point around that. What other things shouldn't men tell women, Chris?
Another one they shouldn't tell is I don't know how.
Oh, okay. Like in what reference would that be?
Well, it could be something that he's struggling through in the relationship itself,
Okay.
or maybe something in his career. See, our belief is that men need to lead in their own lives, that they have some really strong men in their lives that they can go to for feedback, and some with guys who will love them, champion them, be in their face when they have to be,
Right.
but really be there for them in the way that they need to be.
Does this have anything to do with men not wanting to ask directions?
Oh, you got it. You got it. We'll just keep driving. I'll figure it out.
I don't know. To me, that's like silly.
Oh.
Look at a damn map, for God's sake.
I can ask for directions.
Yeah. But, you made a good point about men needing other men in their life.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine, for example, is going through a financial struggle right now. And I was telling him a little bit about the law of attraction. And he said to me, well, when I'm in the midst of it and I can't pay my rent and I can't pay my bills and my kids, I don't know what to do. How can I focus on the good things when every day I have to wake up and figure out what collection call is going to come in? And I think that's the most interesting space, is to not be focused in what the quote reality is of that day, but to train your brain to, okay, yes, you have to deal with that in that day, but train your brain to focus on, okay, what's the outcome that you want? Right.
So let's talk a little bit about that, because it's easy to say, oh, think positive thoughts. But listen, when you got collection calls and your children aren't being fed and you don't know what to do, you're beside yourself, that's when you are truly tested, right?
And yeah, absolutely. And the hard part is, like you said, it's kind of getting yourself into a positive headspace when all you feel is negative. But the reason why there continues to be debt and negativity and bad things happening is because he and many other people remain in a place of lack or scarcity.
It's a great strategy to get people to think differently, because, sex is, it's so funny when people say, sex is dirty. I say, great, because someone can say that and that can be a bad thing and, oh, we don't do that. Or it could be this really hot thing that we really like to explore.
Actually, that's a very good point. Yeah, even that word itself can mean different things to different people. You're right.
Absolutely. And even a level below that is, looking at it, and what I think is dirty sex is going to be different from what you think is dirty sex.
Exactly.
Right. So the language, and you, like you say, our thoughts and our words create our reality.
Yes.
Our language around sex is so... It exists in such a place of poverty.
And that really ties into the fact that as human beings, we attach meaning to things. And what's really interesting to point out, and what you just said is a perfect example of what dirty sex means to you, or to that person, or to that person, or to me, or to that person, could be two totally different things. And I think that's very valuable to be aware of that. The verbiage that we use, we label or we create a meaning to that verbiage, but actually it could mean different things to different people. And I think it's important to explore, especially in a discussion with your partner, well, what does that mean? What does dirty sex mean to you? Is it bad or is it...
The coworker down the hall that maybe is also struggling in their relationship when they engage in risky behaviors and risky things that jeopardize their primary relationship.
I have some really hard advice around that. I have a very open mind, but honesty and integrity is very, very important to me. And the fact is, like the numbers you mentioned earlier, is that in most relationships, that's not the case, actually. Eventually, something falls through the cracks. So for me, it's like if you're in a work situation and you're like you said, you're going to be attracted to different people. But if you're working with somebody like on a constant basis, if you're attracted to somebody and you're becoming more attracted to them. So if there's somebody at work that you're attracted to and you don't need to be around them, stay away from them. Don't be going to lunch with them and chit-chatting and telling them about your relationship and all of that stuff. And when people say, oh, it just happened, it didn't just happen. Mm-hmm. You made it happen. If you're attracted to somebody. If you're married and you're attracted to somebody, you need to stay the hell away from them.
Yeah,
and
totally.
that's all
and
there is to
that
it.
Slippery slope, right? Because it starts with the emotional, kind of the disclosure. And as soon as you find you're disclosing something that you think, my partner would probably not be
want
happy
me.
about
Exactly. It's really a strategy. It looks at modeling human excellence and how we run our brain, and I really like it because it's very specific. So with the naturally slender eating pattern, I'm going to sort of summarize it, and then Dee Dee, you can comment on it. People that have this natural ability always think about how it's going to feel afterwards, as opposed to people that eat whatever they want. Just think about in the moment. So you actually have to train your brain to do this, right? Now expand on what I just sort of shared.
Like trying it on first. So you're trying it on first. But the other thing that the slender eating strategy does is says, let's go into this very intentionally, okay? Let's decide what is the best food I can eat that's going to last me the next 4 hours and bring my energy up.
Yeah. And I think that this whole idea of taking a moment to just think about how that food is going to feel in your body, is it going to give you the nutrition you want? Just stop and take that moment. That's really, really critical, because otherwise you're on this routine where you're just eating whatever you want, whatever satisfies you in the moment.
Unconsciously.
Yeah, and I think that is such a powerful thing. If for people listening, that one solid thing, just doing that one thing.
And how it can work also is if you've eaten a full meal and you're satisfied, and of course somebody comes around with cake, and normally if I like to call it unconscious mode. It's like you're operating from I love cake. If it stops you from operating on unconscious, and again, using your mind in a very intentional way, a conscious way, where you say, I'm really full. What's it going to feel like if I eat that cake? Oh my God, you know what? I'm going to feel full. My stomach's going to be hanging out.
That's it. Yeah.
So you're more likely to turn down that cake.
Yeah. But let's just say for the record, cake is good on occasion, because let me tell you, I love my cake.
At least you do it consciously.
I do it very consciously.
That's
the
difference.
People say, oh, how do you stay so slender and thin? You don't have to worry about what you eat. I'm like, are you kidding me? If I ate everything I want to eat all the time,
and
I'd be 300 pounds, girl.
And that's the thing. I see you. I saw you once. By the way, Aida loves chocolate.
Yes.
And I saw her take a piece of chocolate once. I don't know if you remember this.
No.
And you started gobbling it down. You said, wait a second. If I'm going to eat this piece of chocolate, I need to slow down and enjoy it.
That's right. That's right.
Eat it consciously, because when you eat it consciously, then you're done. You're over it. You've got your fill. And the thing is, you're not going to do it as often as when you gobble it down and you're like, I didn't even feel what that felt like.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Not only that, no guilt after. That's the other thing I do for myself. If I'm going to eat a piece of chocolate cake, I'm going to enjoy it, and there is no way I'm feeling guilty about it, because then it just ruins the experience. Forget that. Getting back to that, what you said about belief systems. So let's just sort of break that down for people, because I find this fascinating. So something occurs in your life, an event occurs, let's say, and then what happens is that we attach meaning to that event.
Absolutely.
So let's say as a child, your teacher told you did really bad on a math test, and your teacher said, oh, you're just not good at math. It's not about whether that's true or false. It's whether it's just an event that occurred, and then your brain goes, oh, I'm not good at math. And literally for the rest of your life, you could think you're not good at math, you're not good at balancing your checkbook, all these things. So this is kind of the power of how that one little belief that impacted your life when you were, 7 years old can have an influence in your life. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. In fact, I failed grade 2. They told me I was learning disabled. And I started telling them they were teaching disabled later on, because I refused to accept that belief. In fact, for years in private practice, and I've shared stories with you before, kids would come in, believing they're learning disabled. And how does that impact then their interaction in the school system, or what they believe their capabilities are in the context of life and achieving things?
For example, a woman that wants to have a conscious loving relationship, and they keep getting jerks that keep popping up all the time. I guarantee you that subconsciously that person at some level believes it's safer for them to attract jerks so they get not too emotionally attached, than rather than go into a relationship.
Okay, so what I get out of that is, in a situation where you know consciously what something should be, you either know what you should do or you're doing it and you're not getting the result, like it's that black and white, you're just not getting the result, you're suggesting to look a little deeper at what beliefs are holding you back that you might not even be aware of consciously. So what's interesting to me that I discovered the other day, we were working on a project and I had put together a proposal and I presented the proposal to the organization. It was a really big deal. And the assistant called me and said, it looks great. She set up a meeting with the president and they were interested. And it's funny because when this all happened very quickly and very easily, and I pay attention to my thoughts, and this little voice popped up and said, oh, wow, that was really easy. Oh, that was too easy. That's not going to happen that easy. And I almost like literally looked around like, who said that? What's going on here? And I realized that I had this underlying belief, and it wasn't a conscious belief, because I can tell you that things can be easy and there's no reason why things can be difficult. I can consciously tell you that. But I discovered in that moment when that little voice came up that somewhere in me there resonates a belief that says it has to be hard, it has to be difficult. And if you look at most of the things that I've done, accomplishments, it was very difficult, and I did it through sheer perseverance and not giving up and being a bulldog about it. I mean, teenagers are under a lot of pressure to fit in, to do the things that teenagers do. How do you guys both deal with that pressure? Because everybody wants to fit in to some degree, right?
I just keep saying to myself, just be who I am and don't change for those around me.
Yeah, like definitely being in high school now, it's like a lot different, and I'm always worried about what other people think, but I just keep telling myself that I shouldn't worry about that. I should just, I should be who I want to be and not have to
it's
worry.
hard though, isn't it? It's hard.
It's really hard.
Like,
It
because
really
you're at a
is.
stage in your life where you're becoming women. You're going into your own. And so people will push and pull you in different directions. And you're probably in the most difficult phase right now of building who you are as young women. And that's great what you said, is that, yeah, you will feel like everybody wants to fit in, and there'll come a point where you have to make a decision. And you know what? I'll tell you something. When you choose to, if you know there's something negative, it's not going the right way, and you don't get pulled into that direction, and you stand your ground, it's a very powerful feeling to be able to do that. And every time you do it, you develop more personal power around that. I remember when I have two younger brothers, and I guess when I was probably like about 18 or 19 and they were teens, younger than me, and I'd say to them, you know, I remember this, I'd say to them, look, people are going to come up to you, they're going to ask you to, you know, smoke drugs and smoke cigarettes and drink alcohol and do all this stuff. And you're going to have to make a choice. And at that moment, you're going to have to make a choice as to how strong you are. Are you going to be a friggin' wimp and just do whatever the hell they say? Or are you going to have a little bit of backbone and make your own choices and not succumb to that pressure? And that's what it is. It's about, at some point, you have to decide, look, this is uncomfortable for me. I'm getting pressure here and there. But ultimately, it's a really great feeling when you don't succumb to that.
You've been listening to Positive Living, brought to you by Positive Living TV and PodAlmighty.com. If you'd like to reach Aida, please visit PositiveLivingTV.com.